guys ready to watch the game?
Hello everybody and welcome back to another exciting episode of Beyond the Gate. I'm Dustman and with me as always, my dog Nate.
What's up everybody? Nate here. And today we've got Bryan Gonion on. You want to tell everyone a little bit about you? So when did you start racing?
I started racing in 1986.
1986?
Yep, at Rockford BMX.
The good old Rockford.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
And I pretty much raced from 1986, I'd say, till 2003. Solid. Every weekend and everything, and traveled to nationals and whatnot. After 2003, I just kind of, every once in a while, got a hair up my butt and decided to try racing again, but never stuck.
Right. Yeah. It got a little different when it got a little older, you know, the whole racing aspect changed, you know, because I took, you know, about a year off. And even just that little bit of a year, I came back and it was just totally different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when you were racing, who did you race for?
Well, I'd say like my main sponsor was Bob's Bike Shop.
Yeah.
I rode for them most of the time. And then I'd gotten help, like Flo from Standard and Specialized at one point. And then kind of my last sponsor was Enigma Racing, which was a factory that made bike parts and components. So that's kind of the last sponsor I had when I was racing.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
And did you raced Expert, I'm guessing, at least? And
yeah.
did you...
Yeah, I raced Expert probably for 13 years.
13
up
years.
to 19, and then I turned pro. And I raced pro for 5 years.
Yeah?
Yeah, A pro. I never made double A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah.
The infamous jeans he used to run, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the Bob's Bikes shop shirt and jeans. I remember that. Yeah.
That was my uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. And what have you been up to now? I know you've been rocking the Waukegan track.
Yeah. Well, after racing was over, tried to settle a normal life. Kind of had kids and family. Like I said, try to keep riding and stuff. Got into riding a little mountain biking. And then in 2019, I got the opportunity to take over the Waukegan BMX track.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at right now. Working on the track, trying to, you know, keep places to ride for the youngins.
Yeah. All right. So back then, you said you started way back. I've known you for a long time, and I've got to watch you ride pretty much my whole career. So how did you actually get started back in the day?
That's funny. In 1986, you know, I was at my house and the movie Rad came out.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Rad came out. That's when it came out. And
Right.
I don't know how, but I ended up watching it at my house and I was into it. And one day my dad came home from work and he's like, I found a BMX track out in Cyril's Park. You know, a place you can do this.
Right.
And he took me there. And I had this old, you know, 20-inch big boy Huffy, all chrome, you know.
Yeah.
And I still remember the day, the first time I came out of the gate, you know.
Yep.
I come off the drop off and, you know, I was 6 at the time, maybe like 80 pounds or something. And I had this big bike and I come off the drop off and I'm just bouncing. My bike was just bouncing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And he signed me up and I started racing.
Yeah. Was it just like love at first sight? That was it? You
I
just-
think so, yeah.
The bug bit you and you had to keep going back?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I loved it. Never got off my bike.
Well, I mean, bikes were so much different back then too. Like you
Yeah.
said, it was huge, you know. And my bike, I started on a Huffy as well.
Yeah.
And like, you know, but tires back then were like balloon tires. You
know.
know, it wasn't like, you know, these
Yeah.
super small tires now. You know,
No.
like.
That
So-
thing bounced.
Yeah, for sure. So like, and it was dirt back then. Like it was
Yeah.
like, you know how
Yeah.
you know how it was back then. You know, it actually had mud races, and it was mud races. You know,
Mhm.
now it's like water beads off the track, which is nice. You know, it's cool.
Yeah,
But
just different.
yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
saves the track operators like you from having to fix it. You know, so I mean
Yeah.
that's nice. But
That is
Yep.
true.
for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how tracks have evolved.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because there used to be a flat corner at Rockford when I
Yeah,
started.
yeah,
The last corner was actually flat, and they had a old outhouse on the outside of the turn. You know, I don't know why it was there, but it was the outhouse turn.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That was before it was the cemetery turn.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah.
And then so like what has like kept you in it, and like what drove the progression, like when you were younger?
I think what drove it is I really enjoyed being in a sport where I relied on myself.
Okay.
You know, I didn't rely on anybody else really. You know,
Right.
my parents and whatnot, obviously, but it was all dependent on how I did. You know,
Yeah.
the effort I put in during the week. You know, and just my drive, my motivation, and you know, back in the late '80s and '90s, we had a lot of local pros
Okay.
to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was great. And like two of the pros that I really looked up to was Mark Melton and a guy named Regan Gray.
Okay.
You know, I've got pictures, you know, like from being 6, 7, 8, 9 with Mark, and
Yeah.
I remember watching him. So he was kind of the pro at the time that helped progress and push. You know, you could see what you could do on a bike. You know, he traveled around the country and he was pro. He did good, made some money.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He had that long hair. He had that half-cut helmet. He had it going on. He
Yeah,
did, man. I
I
remember
know.
that. He used to ride for Kegels way back then too, and I remember seeing him in Minnesota. God, it was they have the indoor one. I think it's like Ray Beans. I think. It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
They have. They used to have an outdoor track there, and I remember watching him there. I was like probably 8 years old,
Yeah.
and I definitely. I remember, you know, watching him kick butt there, and
Yeah.
after that, like it was just like he was my favorite.
Yeah.
You know.
Same here, yeah.
And it was, you know, not even, you know, that cool, but it was even better that he was at our home track. You know?
Yes.
So he was like the home hero, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then you came and you started kicking butt too, you know.
That is true.
Yeah, thanks.
So I know you turned pro. When was that, and what was the driving like decision? What made you decide you wanted to go pro?
Well, it was hard. I turned pro in 1999. In February '99, I turned at Wichita, Kansas, a national. Well, before that, that was actually right when I graduated high school as well. I graduated in August of '98.
Okay.
So I kind of had a decision, you know, like my family wanted me to go to college, go away to college, get a
Yeah.
degree and whatnot. But that just wasn't my thing.
Right. We wanted to ride a bike.
I wanted to ride a bike.
I feel that.
And, you know, before that I had raced some nationals. I won some amateur nationals. Won Gold Cup, I think in '98 on both bikes. And we had the World Championship at Rockford, the ABA World Championship at Rockford. And I did really well. I got second in cruiser, from
Dang.
17 to 20 cruiser.
World #2.
World two.
And that was a stacked moto. I had like George was in there, Andy Contes, JP Fallon. I mean, it was stacked. It was a good for the time, you know, everything. So I kind of felt like my amateur time was done.
Yeah.
So I wanted to turn pro just because it was the next thing. I knew I could put up a challenge. You know.
Yeah. You
I
got
didn't.
it.
Yeah, I didn't at the time have like goals like, oh, I'm gonna make this a career. I'm gonna train. You know, look at the longevity, turn AA, and try to make a life out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I just knew I was having fun and traveling and,
Yeah.
you know, making a little bit of money and I could do what I wanted. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was fun. And probably right about then, I mean, I always had trained from the age of like 10.
Yeah.
I rode rollers, you know, and light weights and stuff, ran. But come '99, I started to really train.
Yeah.
Took some personal training courses
Okay.
and developed a training regimen.
Yeah.
God, I wish I would have trained when I was younger. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't train a lot.
I
I
didn't
rode
either.
your guys' trails.
Yeah.
I rode trails. You know, that's
Yeah.
why I got really good
Yeah.
bike skills. You know, I rode
Yep.
my bike.
Yep. Yeah, same here. Just tried to complement my bike skills with brute strength.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like your little backspin
Yeah.
gait, man. Your gait was like so weird.
Yeah.
I remember being behind you. I remember trying to do that as well. Like it was such a like unique way. I've never seen anybody else do that.
Yeah.
And like how he did it is like he'd go like he'd be sitting like with his front pedal down, and then he'd lean back and bring his pedal up and go forward like right as it was going down. So it was all one motion. He'd be forward, back, forward, like he was rocking.
Yeah.
And he
But
would
this is
come
when
out.
you could slingshot.
Yes,
You
and
could
you know,
slingshot.
he would come out like it was definitely. I tried. I tried to do it. Obviously, it was good. You know. So yeah. So that was definitely. How did you learn doing that?
I'm glad you asked that because, you know, I've always thought that in my head, where did that come from? Because I didn't like physically or mentally think about doing that.
Yeah.
It just evolved for some reason. Like when I started, it was a lot different.
Yeah,
the
for
gate,
sure.
the gate would be lifted up. There'd be a lever connected to the gate, and somebody'd stand there, lift the lever up to the gate, and it'd usually have like a latch. So then somebody,
That big old, I remember that.
somebody would say the command, and then pull the thing, and the gate would fall, right? And then it turned into like they'd pull it up, and then Jake had a magnet, right?
Yeah,
And then they'd release the magnet, and the gates were smaller, and I don't know.
I think he upgraded right as like I got in there, but I remember that.
I just remember, I'd pull back and slingshot because we could do that, and the gates were like this tall.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, I started doing my feet too, and it was a good gate, but I think it wasn't as consistent as it could have been.
Right. I
would struggle at different tracks getting my timing.
Right. Different. Well, back then, like you said, the gates were so different. So it was like you went to one track, and it was like you go to a different track, and you can't train that same one at a different track.
No.
So it was like it's so different.
I had a hard time.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks so cool. He had it down at Rockford. I liked watching it, So
and it messed everybody up.
Yeah.
Which was a benefit. I didn't even mean to.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. So.
So, since you've been racing, I know you've raced pro and you've done a whole lot. What's some of the strong highlights from your AM days to even the pro days that really stick out?
Okay. I think kind of the major thing, it seems like when I started when I was 6, I know I was expert by 9, 10 years old. And that's kind of where the highlights start for me. My first state championship was when I was 10, 1990. And I think it was on class. And then after that, I believe I won state champ every year until I turned pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably on both bikes.
Right.
On cruiser and 20. Because I always had a cruiser. So that was definitely a highlight. I've got those jackets and things. So that was neat.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the ABA World Cup, when we had that, and I got second in the 17 through 20 cruiser. That was awesome.
I bet. I was there. I don't remember how good I did, but I do remember that it was a pretty big race.
Yeah.
It was pretty big.
Yeah, it was cool. And then, like I said, in 98 in Sedalia, Missouri, I was doing really well. Went down there, I raced open class and cruiser, and there was a student named Bo Richards that was from Texas, and he was always winning, So I was like the underdog. But I came in there in open, smoked him.
Yeah.
Right on.
Came in there cruiser, smoked him.
Yeah.
Right? Class comes down, going around the first turn, man, he T-boned me.
Oh man, yeah. Ooh.
Straight T-boned me, took me out, and I remember sliding down the berm. I was pissed.
Next lap.
I took my, that's what it was. He was pulling my leg so I can get back to my bike.
Oh yeah.
And I turned around and kicked him in the helmet
Yeah.
and took off and got to the end. And I remember my dad and Mark Melton were sitting up there on the right around the first turn in the Coliseum, and Mark was hot too. He was mad because it would have been awesome if I would have tripled,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was close, but so that was cool. And then I think my first national win was in Minnesota. I don't remember. It was one of the weird tracks up there, and I beat Hildebrand.
Oh yeah, Mark Hildebrand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was pretty proud of that. That was my first national win.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely be proud of you beating it.
Yeah. That was my amateur stuff. Felt good about that, and I was lucky.
Right.
I had awesome competition. Two guys that I raced my whole life were Mark Hildebrand and George Andrews.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had George to race.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made me the racer I was.
Yeah.
Whatever anybody says, dude, the dude knows how to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the same thing with me and Lijuan.
Yeah.
You get that person I say that, you are who you ride with,
Yeah.
Because if you're riding with somebody that's not, going to send it or, just, go fast.
You're not going to progress.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you said, George is pushing you, you're pushing George.
Yeah.
You're going to be,
Yeah.
a mirror image of that rider.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like when I turned pro in Wichita, he was pro also. I don't know if he turned there or not. But anyways.
Was that when Wade Boots was major league? I was at. Did it snow like super?
Yeah.
Bad? I was at that race.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was in like an old pole barn in Wichita, dirty, dusty, no lighting, right? And I still, man, no matter where we went, George and I were going at it. And it was pro cruiser. I'm coming around like the second turn, and dude, George just goes right through the cones, T-bones me. I hit the freaking pole. I mean, boom! I fell over by the finish line.
He's been mangling people for a long time.
Yeah, that's my point. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, back then it was like hockey, man.
Yeah.
It's not nowadays. You know, people are a little bit more nice. Back
Yeah.
then it was like you said, kicking people in the helmet, and
Yeah.
it was wild back then.
Yeah. And you know, our local scene too. You know, it snows, so we needed a place to race in the inside. And the place we had was a little horse barn called Walworth County Elkhorn BMX.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's so tight, we bang bars.
Oh yeah.
And that's how we grew up.
Oh yeah. They
You know?
got wild in there.
Yeah. Not too many other, you know, people in the country know how to ride like that.
No,
Yeah.
no. I remember people throwing helmets,
Mhm.
all types of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I guess going into pro, some highlights that I have, like I said, I raced for 5 years.
Yeah.
First weekend I turned was Wichita, and I think Kyle Bennett turned that weekend. And I beat him in the semi to make the main. Which was awesome.
Butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bubba Harris too, I believe.
Yeah, I remember them.
Kind of before they blew up, but whatever.
Right. Hey, that's all right. He still beat.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
that's something to say.
Just some highlights from being pro. I traveled a lot. It was awesome.
Where'd you travel to?
Everywhere.
Yeah?
Yeah, like 2001 and 2, I probably went to 25 nationals a year, each
Yeah, like,
year.
what do you? Where's like? What was the like best destination national you went to? Like when you were traveling for it?
Probably Florida. I went to Florida quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I raced an Orlando National. I raced one in Sarasota. And I actually went down to Florida when I was working. I worked at the bike shop during my pro time, at Bob's Bike Shop. And they gave me a lot of freedom to do what I wanted, which was awesome.
Right.
So during the winter, I was dating a girl and she had family in Fort Myers, Florida. And I'd go down there for 2 weeks, twice a winter and train.
Oh, yeah.
Which was awesome. And I'd hit all the tracks, you know, Punta Gorda and
Right.
Coral Springs, Cape Coral, Orlando, Sarasota, and everything, and train. And I loved going to Florida.
Oh
I
yeah,
believe
for
it.
sure. They got a really good track scene
Yeah.
down there, for
Yeah.
sure. And that was before the big hill at Sarasota.
Yeah.
Just so you guys
Yeah, I
know.
never saw that. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
Florida was awesome. I think though, like in 2001, I was really doing well in pro.
Is that when you got picked up by Enigma? How did you get that?
That was in 2002.
Was it 2002?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I rode for Bob's Bike Shop all 2001 and 2. 2002, trying to think. I hit my head a lot.
Right. Yeah.
So in 2002,
We're not all Elijah Juan Davis, you know.
Yeah, I know his stats.
I
I know.
know. He knows.
Yeah.
Shout out to him anyway. He
Yeah.
wanted to be here with you. You know, he's like, man, I want to be there with him. You know,
That's
he's
cool,
so good.
yeah.
I was, you know, that's my guy. You know, so.
yep. And I remember Elijah when I was working at the bike shop. He was just a neighborhood kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, he was young. I remember him in the neighborhood.
Right. Yeah.
That was cool. But 2002 was kind of like my year as a pro.
Yeah.
I was in good shape, good place mentally and everything.
Yeah.
That's when I rode the 115 number. So that meant the previous year I was 15th A pro in the country.
Right on.
Right. So going into the Grands, I was sitting second in A pro standings behind Derek Betcher. It was funny because, like I said, we went to the indoor track to train, and the weekend before going to the Grands, you know, I got to the Elkhorn late to practice and didn't throw any padding on or anything, you know. First lap run, I go to yank this double that goes into a triple, and I over the bars face first into the triple. I broke 3 ribs, my wrist, concussion. You know, I'm leaving for the Grands Wednesday that week, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting second in pro, and I'm like, oh my God.
That sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my wife gets all that. I'm always going to do something stupid for a race.
Yeah. Yeah, and I even knew better.
Yeah, right.
So I went to the Grands that year, and I signed up for Pro Open in class. I did Pro Open just for the track time. But I ended up getting into the semis, and I was the only A pro to get that far.
Oh, wow.
And I also made my semi in A pro.
Right.
The Pro Open semi was first, and then the A pro semi was a little later. And like I said, I was the only A in there, and I'd get like 5, 6 somewhere in there. Coming out of the gate was a pretty large step up. And I think it was Craig Reynolds and Tomko next to me, and they just
Right.
didn't want an A Pro in the main.
Yeah, them guys are
yeah.
fast.
Yeah, and snapped out next to them, and they just hammered me, and I went over the bars right after the step up, and it was like immediately my elbow was like to my wrist, you know, and I had the broken ribs. This wrist was broke, and so I was flustered, and I had my semi for A Pro, and I should have got the main, but I was weak out of the gate and
Right,
stuff,
yeah,
and
hurting.
yeah, I was hurting.
That ribs, that makes your gates. Oh.
And I was sitting sixth going into the last turn. I was like, well, whatever. Pulled a George, you know, I'm just doing whatever. I just
Right.
straight across, pedaling, just wham. I crashed. I don't know if I took a couple people down, but I didn't make the main.
Right.
But anyways, I left the Grands that year, and that's when Enigma came up to me at the Grands that year. Gave me a full ride, full sponsor. Entry fees, travel fees, product, bikes, uniforms and everything. It was kind of the break I needed,
Yeah.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
So for the 2003 season, my number was 102, which meant I was second A Pro in the country.
Yeah.
And I was like $150, $180 from turning double A.
Yeah.
So I was close. So I kind of healed up from my Grands injuries and whatnot.
Yeah.
My first, I raced national in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and it was so-so.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to DeSoto in May. That's kind of the last race I raced.
Yeah.
As a normal racer.
Right, right. And then he came back and, you know.
I crashed pretty hard there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, Jeremy Cott was right behind me in the moto. And it was like Sunday morning, I think. And I'm going into the second turn at DeSoto, and it's a covered Metroplex. And I was jump manual in the triple. And when I did that, I took a crank and blew my chain.
Oh. Ooh.
Full speed, and I used to run a speedometer,
Yeah.
you know, just to see how fast my first rates were. And I was 31 miles an hour was what it was saying. And I lipped off the berm into the parking lot. Yeah, I just like ate my bike, couldn't get anything, hit the berm into the parking lot. And I kind of remember being in the air, and I heard my jersey flap, and I pitched the bike. And I came down, there was like a retaining wall around the outside of the berm, like
Yeah.
4 big wood. Just chunked it and hit the cement, and there was an ambulance back up there, and my bike was sitting on the back of the ambulance, like seriously, no joke. And
Oh,
And
at
I-
least they were close.
yeah, well, I didn't go to the hospital.
Well, most of us don't.
No. So I remember like being on my back, and I woke up, and there's a circle of people around me, and I'm, you know, I was always well mannered and everything. And I just remember, boom, and I hit some guy with my helmet. Yeah, I was so mad. And I just got up, and Jeremy, we got to like my pickup truck. They asked if I wanted attention, and I got to my pickup truck, and we're in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
It was just me and Jeremy. Took my little S10 and just sat there for a while, and he finished his day out, and I was hurting.
Yeah.
'Cause I ended up fracturing vertebrae in my back, and
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
I was out for like over 5 minutes. You know, I probably broke a hand and stuff again. I tore my PCL, all that in my knee. So I had to be to work in Chicago Monday morning.
Yeah, right.
You know, so we ended up going by like, after the race, we went by this Doug Crowell and Yo Thatch and some guys at the Dallas area and hung out, you know. And then Jeremy and I headed back to Chicago and drove the whole night. And I went to work the next day, worked 10 hours, and then I went to the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that race kind of, I realized I was mortal. I realized I could actually die.
Right.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Right.
Yeah, before that, I never felt that way. I felt like I could do anything.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's part of the, you know, that's part of what we do, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
just having that mindset of going 110% at all times, you
Yep.
know, and then
Something changed, though.
right, same thing,
Yeah.
right. You start realizing, like you said, like Sam Willoughby. Look, he,
Yeah.
you know, he went through some stuff and he changed his life, you know, and a lot of us just don't think about that until it happens to them.
Exactly.
You know, so
Yeah. So after that, I still have my sponsor, but I remember like coming into Rockford National. Dude, I was a joke. I was
Yeah.
scared.
yeah,
I was scared at the time. So something changed,
oh yeah,
and I just kind of fizzled away.
yeah, I can understand that too. You know, I mean, when I broke my heel in half at Midwest and I came back, it was different. You know, it took me a while to get back to where I was.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just that's scary.
Yep.
You know, especially going through what that pain and all, it's just like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth
Yeah.
it? You know?
Yeah.
When I was 15 years old, I was up in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and I jumped the double. It was probably like 2013, 2012. It's when it was double in the second straight. And it was like, I think maybe the year I turned X. I hit the double too far on the inside and had a weird knuckle on it. And when I hit it, it like bucked my back end up.
Yep.
And I overshot the whole jump to the flat bottom of the corner, and I landed on the crown of my head.
Oh.
Yep.
When I woke up and I tried to stand up. When I went to stand up, my arms and legs didn't work.
Yeah.
And I ended up going back out again on the way, like, trying to get up, because I watched Jordan Grider go around me. I tried to get up and, like, I saw it, I was like, why isn't anything, and then I just went out again. And, like, and then when I woke up again, was like getting tackled by a big guy because I was trying to get up again, and they're like, "Don't move, your spine could be broken."
Yeah.
And like, and then luckily it wasn't. I woke up, and about 15-20 minutes later, my arms and legs started working again, and then I found out there was dirt in my mouth. Well, it wasn't dirt; it was all teeth.
Really?
When I landed, my teeth clapped,
Oh, geez.
and I broke 16 of my teeth at once, and it was just jagged and they were just shattered in my mouth. And
Wow.
yeah, and they took me to the hospital. I got all of the scans and like ended up being lucky as hell.
Yeah.
I ended up like
That's BMX life, you know.
Yeah.
That is
I got-
BMX life.
it-
You gotta take it. And,
yeah, and it took me like a year and a half to like feel like a normal, like trying to be competitive, because
Yeah.
it was just like it took me 3 months to be able to like move around again like a normal person, and then just trying to like get back to being competitive and not being scared going into
Yeah.
a corner with someone else.
right.
Yeah.
So it's just
It's a huge mental game.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it's having fun.
Yeah.
You just gotta have fun with it, because if
Yeah.
you're not having fun, if you, like you said, you're hurting yourself like
Yeah.
that. I mean, is it worth going back just to be competitive, or
Yeah.
are you going back to have fun?
Yeah, and that's
And same thing with you. You came back, and I mean, obviously, you were out for a while. You came, and you're back. And like you said, you've been in it your whole life. So you
It's
can't.
part of who you are.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can leave, but you're not. You can take the animal out of the
Yeah.
wilderness, but you're not
Yeah.
going to take the wild out of the animal. And that's the
Exactly.
same thing with BMXers.
yeah,
Yeah. Injuries are tough.
They are.
they are.
And that's the thing too is throughout the years, I've had a lot of concussions and whatnot, and I actually didn't until I was 32 or 3 find out, how much the concussions were affecting me.
Yeah,
I'd gotten some CAT scans and stuff, and I'd have CTE,
Mm-hmm.
and I take some medicines to keep my brain in check.
Right.
Because I see the black voids and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
And before that, I had some irrational behavior and whatnot, and to say the least.
Yeah, right. And knocking your head don't make that any better at all.
Yeah, but you didn't know why, I was just all
Yeah.
over the place, and one thing led to another, and we figured that out.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So,
Good.
brain injuries,
Oh, yeah.
it's important.
Nothing
Yeah.
to mess with.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was 10, I was riding and hit my head on a curb. I went over my bars, hit my head on a curb, and I had this big thing. And then, when we were young, it was whatever, wipe it off.
Oh yeah, keep going.
But I woke up in the middle of the night, and I couldn't move. I couldn't even talk.
Oh man.
Yeah, like the door was cracked in my bedroom, and I couldn't call my mom or anything.
Oh wow.
And I think it was like 36 hours because of brain swelling. I couldn't move.
Oh wow. Wow.
I was 10.
Yeah,
Right.
that's terrifying.
But it, like you said, it's part of the game. You gotta dress for the crash. Always
Yeah.
wear a helmet.
Yeah.
Have a good helmet.
Yeah. Don't be too safe.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be too cool to be safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, you could no protection anywhere else, but the helmet's important.
Right, for
Very
sure.
true.
I mean, you're gonna get older, no matter what. So you might as well protect what you got now, so it's
Yeah.
better later.
Exactly.
Just coming over all that stuff, getting over it all is just a hard thing to do.
It
Yeah, it
is.
is.
Yeah.
So, what's the hardest part about running a track?
Well, that's a loaded question.
I'm sure it is.
I mean, all around it's difficult. But overall, I think it's just, to be honest, the people. I'm not even gonna lie, sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Everyone's always got something to say or an opinion, but they're typically not there when you need help or whatnot.
Yeah. It's easy to ridicule and
Yeah.
say stuff from the outside.
Yeah, exactly. You know, people that don't really understand the whole situation. Like for instance, 2019 was going to be Waukegan's last year. They were going to shut it down.
Okay.
After Robert Keegskin was running it, no one wanted to take it over.
Okay.
And I had gotten word of this, so I went to the board meeting that fall in 2019, and I just kind of went there to sit back, knowing I wasn't going to let it go.
Right.
You know, I was going to wait and see if anybody raised their hand, but like 15 minutes went by, no one was raising their hand. And, you know, so in the back of my head, I just decided that, hey, I know, with my experience, I know if I have to do this all with a shovel and a rake, I can have a track by myself. You know, it might not be the best, but I know I can do it. So the track was going to close, and I took it over.
Yeah. And see, and that's
And
the
people
thing.
need to know that.
That's the thing, right?
Right.
You, like you said, that's the people is the hardest part. But there was no one there to raise their hand
Nope.
when he was the only one.
Nope.
But you know,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
have something to say
And-
about how you do it.
Yeah, and to say that, and it wasn't just me. We have a president, a two-part presidents, Brian Knowles and Maria Knowles. They do a lot of the financial, clerical things behind the scenes on the board. So the two of us, but he before he raised his hand, wanted to make sure I was going to. So, and we're great friends. Our sons raced together since they were 5.
Yeah.
We're making a really good team at Waukegan BMX, the Knowles and myself.
Yeah. Awesome.
But like we said, it was going to close unless we stepped up.
Right.
So when we're out there in 2020 working, and it's 4 or 5 people,
Yeah. That's a big track.
yeah, you know, people need to understand that we're doing the best that we can.
Yeah. For sure.
And I'm really lucky and grateful to have Cody Webster as well helping.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a good rider. He's a good kid.
He's a good dude.
And he knows how to help
Yeah.
the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's not going to
Yeah.
go out there and, you know, put the dirt in the wrong spot or, you know, make a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's good to have
Yeah.
the right help for
Yeah,
sure.
he's
Yeah.
great. And yeah, and he's there every day. You know, and we talk and decide, and it's a group thing.
Yeah.
And like, what's been the hardest part about the maintenance aspect? Have you had people trying to like ride dirt bikes and stuff on it?
Oh yeah, it's Waukegan, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardest thing, you know, first off is it's a public facility.
Right.
Okay.
It's a public facility.
Yeah.
It's looked at as like somebody laid down a skate park, you know.
Yep.
People expect the weather to break, the track should be open. I get calls nonstop every day. You know, and I don't blame them.
Right. And that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I don't blame
You
them.
want people to be able to ride.
Yeah.
But then again,
Yeah. And it stinks to say, hey, I'm not going to have the track ready till April 15th.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and right now I've got it locked down. But our fencing around it is 4 feet tall. People hop the fence.
Right.
You know, and then we got a main gate at the main road, which I keep locked. But people get on the track at
Oh,
that
yeah,
point.
for sure.
It's public. That makes it difficult.
So then again, people.
Yeah.
Again.
That's my point. Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes
so-
it difficult, and you know, it's great. It's public,
Right.
but to do anything progressively
Yeah.
is hard. I pretty much usually have to have the track kind of rideable before I leave, or else if it's not, it's going to get destroyed.
Right. Right.
You know, last season I had motorcycles out there, RC cars,
Yeah.
you name it.
So it's hard to make it better when you're just trying to fix it.
Very
Yeah.
difficult.
You got
Yeah.
a lot of things
Very
fighting against
difficult.
you.
Yeah.
You know, vandalism. I don't have a ton of tools at my disposal.
Get stolen.
One big thing I rely on is a quad, and last spring got stolen out of the trailer. You know, people break in a lot out there, but I got it back.
Good.
I found the kid and got it back.
Good.
I handled business
Oh,
in a
yeah.
rowdy way.
He's lucky.
Yeah.
Well, with all that said,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot of hard stuff to deal with to you know, handle a BMX track. So, what is the good thing? What's the best, you know, the best thing about running a track?
Yep. And I wouldn't do it if there weren't good things.
Right.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
There's always going to be bad things, and if you know what to expect. Last year in the spring was a little tough. Now I know what to expect, so it doesn't bother me.
Right.
Okay.
But the great things coming out of it, you know, it's Waukegan,
Mhm.
right? I want to make sure kids have something to do,
Right.
positive, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere to go that's positive. The people are positive, they help, right? Get the kids off the electronics, the iPads, have them in reality.
Yeah.
And then to see kind of kids with their parents, how it was when I was younger,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? And to see these new families come about and how it's helping their kids, that 100% does any hardships that I have, just to see that it's worth it. You know, for instance, there's a lot of examples, but for instance, there's this one kid out there that just started racing last year. You know, he's kind of different. You know, he doesn't have a lot of friends and stuff. His dad, awesome. From the get-go, we all talked. And this kid was so shy and, you know, introverted.
Right.
And through the season, just to see how he's grown, talkative, goes to people and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, that's just one kid out there that got affected, you know.
Right.
And, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
DMX will change that kid's life.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
And that's awesome that you stuck through it, and now you're giving, like you said, other people a chance to get your same memories.
Yeah.
The same, footsteps that you ran in.
Yep.
And you're giving them a chance to ride a track that somebody, they don't necessarily know, but that's been here a long time, has a lot of experience, and they're able to ride your creation.
And you're putting your heart and soul into
Yeah.
that track, man. I see how much you care about it, and
Yeah.
like, it's really good that you're doing it, and it's awesome for that. Like, you're giving that facility to like the kids and
Yeah.
everyone that gets to use it.
Yeah. So
thank you.
So us, as riders, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Giving us, a place.
Yep,
So
for sure.
On behalf of the kids that come on the RCs, and we're sorry about that, but
Yeah.
we definitely appreciate that you give us a place to ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And I wouldn't do it if it wasn't appreciated.
yes,
So.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we know you got the track. It's Waukegan, Illinois. So when or what's your schedule looking like this year?
Okay. Well, like we said, it's Waukegan BMX. It's in Waukegan, east of here, right off Lake Michigan, state line border pretty much. Our season officially, our first race will be May 1st. We have a state qualifier, I believe, June 2nd or so. We have a beginners league. Kristen Bell comes out. She's a certified trainer for USA BMX, and she'll do a league, beginner league. It'll be on our Facebook page. I'm not sure the schedule yet. We're also going to do a week-long BMX camp in June at some point. That'll be posted as well
That'll
with
be
Kristen
cool.
Bell. Yeah. So those are kind of the highlights.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to have the track open to the public by April 15th.
Okay.
Right now we're just getting over the winter.
I'd like to get a clinic in there with me and him
I-
there. Sometime
yeah.
we were talking
That'd be
about it, but we'll get that
Yep.
figured out later.
Yeah,
But
yeah. George talked. We talked a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
That would be great. We're more than welcome.
yeah. That'd be awesome for sure.
Yeah, so it's kind of the main thing. You can look on Waukegan BMX Facebook page, Love Waukegan BMX, or Waukegan's Park District site. And it should be all cohesive as to our schedule.
Awesome, awesome. So make sure you guys go out there and check that place out. It's a
Yeah.
good track. You won't be disappointed.
We like jumps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And with that being said, do you have any? Since I know it takes a lot of people to run a track, or just in general, do you have any people you'd like to thank?
As far as the track or overall my whole life?
I mean,
anybody
I guess,
really?
yeah,
Yeah, because I
anybody.
mean, you get just for your your sponsors right now.
Yeah. Okay, well currently, as far as the Waukegan BMX goes and everything, I'd like to thank Cody Webster and Brian and Maria Knowles. They're the Cronenberger family. That's the core right now of our group.
Yeah.
We keep the track going. I also want to thank Paul Becker and Joanne from Fly Zone Racing. They help our community a lot. So those are currently who I would like to thank. But overall, like my whole life, obviously I got to thank my parents, my mom and dad. You don't know how grateful you are until, years later. I mean, I was always grateful for what I had, but looking back, I was more than lucky,
Yeah.
more than lucky. I had great parents, great sister. supported. She'd go to the track races with me and everything too when we traveled. And then, so my parents, gotta throw it to Jake and Candy Carew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't raced if it wasn't for them. I mean, they're 35 years
Yeah.
in for.
I'm not
I
sure.
mean, just great role models for the community. I mean, they started it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful people. Probably, not too many people know him, but Mel Bakey, rest in peace. He ran a team called JRS with the I-Rings back in the day. He taught me so much about working on bikes. Then Bob's Bike Shop, Dale and Jackie Bowling. They did so much for me. I get so grateful. It was awesome working for them, and they gave me the freedom to do what I needed and helped me. Then I don't know who else to thank.
Well,
I thank everybody.
Well, we definitely want to thank you. He gave us this. We're going to keep this on our set. This was your plate from when you...
2002.
2002?
Yep.
It's got on the back, got some writing. You want to tell them what that says?
Oh, okay. Yeah. It says, winning isn't everything. Losing isn't everything. The only difference is the reputation that they make. And which would you rather have?
There you go. So we'd like to thank you guys for watching us. So go ahead and come back and watch our next episodes.
Yep.
Like, subscribe.
Don't forget to ring that bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And thank you guys for watching.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Riders ready to watch the game.